Good evening, guys. Ken of Tortoise Capital, nightly strategy podcast for November 14th, 2023. This is one of those days when good things happen to bad people, and we were on the right side of the tracks when the train went screaming by. So we'll start as usual with the 30-minute charts, hybrid swing, Alcoa. Yesterday we closed that little fractional. Today there was a gap and go, and then it just closed very well for 1, 2, 3R. And looking forward to get another day of growth based on today's performance in the big mainstream large caps, I guess I would call them. AI. So this makes us look pretty smart. Yesterday we had or 2 days ago, we had that trade that stopped here. It gapped down yesterday, and so we cashed that tiny little win. Then when it reversed intraday, we took it and just re-entered once more, and it closed pretty well. And we were holding about 3R, and then it did this. It gapped up and basically closed pretty well right there. I think that's going to be seen as a positive thing. And so we're going to hold that one with 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 plus 7, single position with a nice buffer. That could end up being a really long-term position if there's any legs on this at all. We'll look back on this and say, wow, what a great entry. What was our strategy for that? Just doing the same stuff every day. Same thing with Amazon. You know, we cashed the trade in the morning after it gapped down sharply, and then when it recovered, we re-entered and then benefited from this gap. And I think that'll be interpreted as a good news story. That's about 3R. Caterpillar, gap and go. And I cashed that one because all it did was just maintain a level at the new VWAP. And since that one rarely gaps, and you'll notice this was actually a small gap compared to the other members of the Dow and the tech and the industrials. So we'll just take our 2R in Caterpillar and raise cash. Cliff, we took a half an hour intraday gap and go. It just lacked follow through. CVS, 2R gap and go, and took the dragon skin exit. Disney, yesterday's caught a 2. Really just stabilized and held support at 91. So that's about 3R and looking good. Dish Network, no trade. Devon Energy, we took a emerging dragon, kind of like not quite a gap and go, but a emerging dragon, and then it went nowhere, so we just scratched. Electronic Arts, same thing, gap and go, no follow through, scratch. Emerging markets, gap and go, closed very well for 2R. So we're holding that. I say close, I mean, it went into the close nicely. Mexico, gap and go, holding 2R, closed at the high of the day. Brazil, yesterday's caught a 2, just about an 8R gap in our favor. I closed that one out at 10, and only because there was no additional buying pressure in the big Brazilian ETF there. So it feels like it just found a new level, and that makes this vulnerable for a while. So I know how to get back in. I just wanted to cash a 10R and raise money. Intel, gap and go, 3R. IP, no trade, just ran out of span of control. Real estate, gap and go, holding 3R. Coke closed the 1, 2, 3 entry from 2 days ago, last Friday, and it could not make a new high on the RL10, and it PSAR flipped. So we just took 3 and left it alone and then missed the afternoon run up. Commercial banks, regional banks, I should say. Gap and Go, holding that one, 4R. Mattel, Gap and Go, and Scratch. It ran up for about an R, but then I held it as long as I could, but had to get out here. So Scratch. McDonald's. So we had 2 positions in, and today it zoomed all the way up, but it came back and PSAR flips. So we basically got bottom ticked here. And then remembering the other trades, I just re-entered and we're holding 1 position with about half an hour overnight. So Merck, 3R on the standard dragon skin exit right there. Microsoft, no trade, couldn't get in. Tried the Gap and Go in marijuana, and that one got smashed for about half an hour loss. Missed the afternoon slide. NVIDIA, Gap and Go, bought it. I'm holding it because of the strength in tech generally. And this is such a nice grinding move that I wish I'd gotten more of it. So maybe I'm trying to just catch up now. So about 1R. Clean energy, massive goodness. The COTA 2 entry paid off with a great big Gap and Go. At this point, I had 4R in hand, so why not? And then the whole thing closed really well. So we're holding about 7R overnight on 2 positions. Rivian, I closed yesterday's COTA 2 with about 3R. The S&P, you can see, was just amazing. Big jump up and then held all day. Treasuries, same thing. Tesla, Friday's emerging dragon closed well. And then today, big, powerful gap up and just continued. So I'm treating that as the long-term core position entry at Tesla. And then I will look to add in the future. But I didn't want to chase myself out of this position because we'll be able to look back and say, yeah, an entry around 215.50 was a pretty good entry. U.S. Steel, sideways chop, no trade. So big payoffs today just from doing the right thing yesterday and taking measured risks. We'll shift to the sniper trade of the day. As soon as we can open up here. Just a quick review. This is nothing fancy here. Sometimes you just trade. This is Alcoa. This was the Gap and Go. It moved a standard risk box off the bottom. Buy it. Add a second position at the 2R battle drill, and then just use the PSAR all day, and that is 10R. Off of that one little risk, you get 6 on the first one and 4 on the second one, and that's as orderly as you want. That's 10R by lunch. This is the same trade in Caterpillar, only what we're doing is we're stalking and waiting for the COTA 2. It enters, we use the PSAR, and basically 5R on that one. Caterpillar, for crying out loud. Yeah, that's how cool you saw that already. And I think that's everything I wanted to show. We'll take a look at the traders real quick. Pardon me. Come on, mouse. Obey. in the world is going on? The mouse is not obeying here. Let's try that again. Yeah, I know. I know that that's what it's doing. I can also see that. All right, we'll take a look at a series from my brother here. Bill, if you want to comment when that thing comes up on the screen.
Yep. So this is been working with the 3.9 system the last 2 weeks or so, trying to get ready for the research weekend because that's what I'm going to be presenting on. In the other two slides, I'll try and show you that setup that I have set up in TC 2000. But this was just a basic entry in AI. I have my MMRB set at $1.45 because that's 208 times a number that I've been interested in lately. The golden ratio 1.618. So seems to be doing me pretty well. This is just the first day of a 3.9 move out. So that's that one.
Yep. And this is the 3-day version.
Yeah, this is the first day of a 3-day, and what I did here, so you can see what happened. I had a tight stop set. It just gapped up, went, and after 30 minutes or so, it started to move down. So I just got out. But in the next slide, how I arrived at that, well, maybe one more slide.
Well, I think this is the first
Oh,
one.
okay. Well, there was a setup where I said, well, what was the biggest reversion to mean possibility trade that had a 3-day signal for going up? Okay. Yeah, it's not there. I'm sorry. I didn't load it. So on that PODD, I said, okay, I want a Fortune 5,000 or Fortune 500 company or S&P 500 company. What had the biggest, yeah, there it is. But yesterday it was, well, what was the biggest decline? And all I was looking for was a reversion to mean trade. It's not this slide, but PODD. That's why PODD is at the top
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And I just said, well, I wondered what would happen.
Here it is.
Well, as you can see at the end of the day there, it started to come up. So I said, well, there was a little bit of strength coming out of that. So maybe it'll reverse tomorrow. And this little blip is nothing compared to the decline that it had. So I just took, how do you go wrong with like a 10 hour trade?
Yeah.
So I'll just keep watching it for 3 days, and maybe the reversion to mean will be good to me. And then the next slide is plug, which is something that I like to watch. Just a quick gap up. So it's the same thing. The first little bit of a 3-day, but wanted to cash 6 or 5.5. So I cashed it, and gonna keep watching it for the 3-day. And you can start to see the setup that I have over here in my in the filters. Been playing around. I've expanded on what Ken had given me a while ago. So now I'm trying to watch for, as you can see, coin there is, like, well, let's look at plug. So for the last date, it was in daily winter, 3-day winter, 9-day winter. But then if you see 30-minute fall, right there, the blue dot in the highlighted. Yep. So I was looking at that and I said, well, that could pop up, and that's exactly what it did. So it's depressingly down for plug, and then one day a little brightness. So I took a little shot at it and got 5.5 hour.
Yeah,
So
you can get that's typical price behavior when the longer term short positions are just no longer short, but are just buying to cover. So you get a little bit of buying pressure
yep,
and you get that little short bounce. Doesn't mean that it's turning around. It just means that
right,
that's one day opportunistic trade
yep.
that you get from looking at the seasonality of the longer term time frame. So
So those columns there, the reason I do that is it's kind of like the stoplight feature, 30-minute fall, then the 30-minute winter. It's like, hey, start to pay attention to this. Then it goes into a daily winter, because in the discussion Ken and I had probably 8 months ago, he's like, hey, I want to know when a daily winter happens on a monthly chart. Well, mine are 3-day and 9-day. So I want to catch that signal as early as I can. So I watch for the 30-minute fall, 30-minute winter, and then if it turns into the 1-day winter on a 9-day summer signal, that's when I know I really got to pay attention and maybe get out.
yep. Yeah, it's the changing of the seasons,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
the solstice trading. We could
yeah,
call it.
yeah. So that's my
Thanks for
theories.
ready. Got it. More on the research weekend.
Get more on the research weekend.
All right, here's Tim. Perfectly traded gap and go in Disney for 3R in the morning shot and done for the day. George. Now, George, I'm going to advise you, don't just keep copying the same stuff over every day. Like these things, if the action is review and improve trading rules for the market open, that's not specific enough. And then did you do that? What is the specific improvement that you're looking to achieve that needs to be a little more precise? And like the review of all the previous notes before starting to trade, that's not an action that you're taking to improve things. That's just something that you should always be doing. So that action should actually be incorporated into your standard ritual for preparation. And then the action column is something that you're going to do that changes your routine in order to make an improvement. So make that an affirmative action that represents a change from your previous behavior, either eliminating something that wasn't productive or adding something that should be productive. Okay. Good stuff here on Alcoa. I got to know why you're getting out of these. Is it just a 1R capture? And I want to know why we're not getting. Today was a day when the bulls are running in our direction and we should be exploiting. There is nothing in that signal that says get out. And there's everything in that signal that says get back in. This should have been 5R. So we can't afford to leave money on the table like that. This, on the other hand, was such a big run up and sell off. There was no clear reentries anyway, and the VWAP is just going sideways. So that's good avoidance there. Hamad, great short, good cover. I think you should be getting out at the edge of the dragon and locking in bigger gains. And then this one, we're staying way too long. That's about when we should be getting short, not, we should be exiting up here by the skin of the dragon and not way down here and giving back all the gains that we made. So we're staying too long in both cases, and we're getting punished on both of them. Staying too long. This one, I think we also stayed too long, but that's a good reversal. This is the second position where you only have 1R in hand, and that's making a great trade average. And then stayed too long here. We're in the chop a couple times here. This first trade is excellent. I don't mind this as a short that you finally got short here. That's pretty good. Um, the second position we're entering before we get to 2R, but we're so close at 1.5 and we're beyond a Z3 excursion. I actually like that. That's a collapsing dragon off of this. So that's a case where I think that's reasonable. Microsoft stuck in the chop. Same with Tesla. Find the movers. There's things that are moving. Mark's finding them in this case, the British pound. And this is a case where, okay, so Mark, here's where I think you are right now. You've been working with us for about 30 days, and I'm not going to call it beginner's luck, but because you weren't trying too hard, you were just trying to follow the rules. I think you had really good success in the first 3 to 4 weeks. The last couple days have been tricky, and it feels like you're reading too much into it. You're trying a little too hard, and I think you got to slow down and calm down because we should have been up 10, but we were net -3. That's a 13R swing, and that says that there's something fundamental different in your emotional control. And just the length of this explanation, which I don't have the patience to read, there's some emotional stability and calmitude we just got to get to. There's big moves in here, but we started to get sloppy with over trading as the day went on. And same thing here, trading without patterns. We're on the wrong side of that. That's such an upward strong move that every one of these that's a short position, I'm just wondering what's going on. Why are we doing it? All right, let's shift to the daily. Well, George, if that's a 1-hour trailing stop, you've got to have a re-entry rule. We've been at this long enough now that re-entry is the key to sanity. We're just on a beautiful runaway day that featured a massive upward move in the S&P and massive upward moves in everything associated with the S&P, that we got to be able to recognize that's a special case and get on the long side of the trade and stay with it all day, not treat that as business as normal. We got to know when there's abnormal market conditions like that, and we got to exploit that opportunity. All right, we're gonna forego the daily report. Take a look at it. Look for some continuation patterns to long side. Don't let your enthusiasm from today run away with you. Make sure that we're respecting our stops and we treat it as another day at work. All right, that's everything we got for today. We'll get this published and posted. Take good care.
Did you see the other video I did for Damien?
I haven't watched it yet, but I saw that you'd uploaded it. I had a ton
Okay,
of work today.
that's cool.